Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 23rd of April, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today is Zachary Burgess.
Wah.
And Robert Kemp.
We are all limbed reptiles.
I mean, on some level, yes.
Wah.
We've actually got Wazak in today. Would you prefer to be Wazak?
Not really.
Or just whack?
Whack would be pretty funny.
This shit is whack.
Because it works slightly better for you than for me. I don't know if Warobs is particularly great, or like, oh, it would just be Wob.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work.
Wob. 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 No, yeah, it'd have to be Warab.
What am I? Waniel?
Yeah, Wan.
Or just Wan?
Just Wan.
What does one mean as a word? It's like, isn't it like pale or something?
What Wan?
Yeah.
As in what? Use it in a sentence.
Do the whole
Like-
spelling bee.
Like he was looking wan. Wan or one? I don't even put it. He was looking. I think that's a real word, isn't it?
Damn, man, I'm so Wan today.
I'm so wan. It's like a wide area network going on.
Thoroughly Wan.
Ah, so pale. You ever seen that clip?
No.
Oh, I recommend ISO Pale. Definitely YouTube that.
Okay.
It's two like young newsreaders or weather girls on a regional US news channel, and one of them doesn't realize that they've gone on air and is looking at the monitor, and she's just like, so pale. And I was like, you're on air. And she just turns to the camera looking terrified and just delivers the whole weather report perfectly while the other girl is in like fits of hysterics, basically. So pale. And it's true though, she is so pale.
No shame.
Remember that one.
No shame in pale. That's funny. I mean, you're right. Wan. That is what Wan means.
That is.
I'm pretty sure it's
Just-
Wan, not Wan. Or
It's just not something you would say, is it? It must be old fashioned. It's
Yeah.
going to be archaic before long to say
Yeah.
wan.
which means it's not possible to be wanned and tanned then. Or wan and tanned.
No, you can't be wan and tanned. No, you can either be tanned or wan. They're mutually exclusive.
You go from wan to
You
tan.
can go from wan to tanned.
Yeah, wan to tan. If we ever run
Look at-
an Essex beauty parlour, that's maybe
Yeah.
that's what we should
Wan
be
to
called.
tan.
Wan to tan. Go on,
Get
our
quite the tan.
get in our sunbeds. Leave that wan behind.
Okay, that's another Robco product.
We've got waning wan.
That's not what it would be called, though. As we well know.
No, that's true.
That'd be quite mild for Robco. A wan to tan.
Yeah, that's true.
How is everybody? Are you feeling
All
wan?
right. Did you?
You feeling wan?
It's Sunday, the 23rd of April. Did you get the alarms going off?
I did not.
One person in this house
Did you not?
No, I did not.
One person.
That did not. Yeah,
Random.
My I'm calling you out. The technology did not reach the Samsung Galaxy S22 on the 3 network that I rock.
Wow.
Nothing happened. Whereas Gnome's phone
And
made
Zach,
a very.
you didn't get anything?
I'm not even carrying my phone, so.
All right, so you won't even know.
He's off grid.
Also, I don't think my phone is charged currently either, so. Double fail.
Yeah, Gnome's phone definitely did. My iPhone did. It was sort of like just a square wavy sort of tone, kind of.
Yep.
Bah.
I mean, I did keep thinking
I
about.
assumed it was my smoke alarm or something, which I've never heard before. That's what I thought it
Well,
was, because my phone was in the other room.
I mean, that was lucky because I'd only just taken my headphones off from doing some music stuff as Zach walked in the door, and I was like, what is that? No idea what was happening. And Gnome was like, oh, that's the alarm thing.
I did keep, every time I saw the news warning people about it, I kept thinking I should turn my phone on just to see what would happen. Because my ancient ass Windows phone, what would even happen?
I mean, it's decidedly less interesting than the alarm that went off when I was in Japan and there was an earthquake and everyone's phone started making a sort of whoop whoop noise.
Yeah.
That was much cooler.
Way cooler. Yeah.
Whoop whoop. Whoop for the earthquake, yo.
What would it have... Surely it would not be ideal to be on the motorway when literally everyone's phone makes a new noise they've never heard before. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's just like, that'll be
time.
how you find out who you have to find. Everyone who suddenly crashes.
Yeah. People at the front of the crash probably looked at their phone. Well, them and perhaps one car back, right?
Yeah,
You have
who
to
wasn't paying
account for
attention.
both. Yeah. But what is that? Shut up! It'd be quite annoying. It didn't last very long, fortunately.
No, it was pretty short.
But no, I didn't get it at all. So, for all I know, all is good with the world. Ain't
All
no
is
terrorists coming for me.
Have you had other issues, though, other than terrorists this week?
I mean, this is the best I've felt in 7 days.
Okay.
Today,
Oh, man.
And I'm full of quite, apologies if we get cough action on this podcast. Yeah, I've had a rough week. I've not been great.
Is it COVID situation?
No, but, well, to be fair, I didn't test.
Did you
But
test?
But also, it wasn't nearly as bad as any sort of like COVID-like thing I've had before, and it wasn't quite the same. Like there was none of the hot cold flushes. It was just a general wooze and a head fog that's just been following me around, making movement kind of annoying. Just general bright screens. Didn't really enjoy bright screens.
Oh, no.
I mean, I still sat in front of them. I was just squinting a lot. So my squint muscles have had a good workout. I will persevere.
Did you not, I don't know, take a few breaks or something? I mean, you must have had to.
I mean, I did accidentally a few times. Like, I definitely took a couple of accidental naps whilst trying to work. Don't worry, work. I made up the time. We're good. We're cool.
We're all good. It's all made up.
It's all made up. Yeah. So it was, definitely happened to be one lunch break. I just had a little sit down, and then it turned into a long sit down. I didn't realise. Yeah, it's not been fun.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I
Somewhat,
stupidly
anyway.
tried to run yesterday. It was a bit too early to run.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was a bit too early. I was like, my energy levels are still low, so that was less than ideal. Took me out for the rest of the day, really. But if you don't run, then you don't feel bad, as I'm discovering today.
Isn't that meant to be the opposite?
Well, yeah. On this inspirational London Marathon day, I've got a message for you. Don't run.
So you've been watching a marathon? Anyone of your
Yeah, quite a few of my club were
running?
Were in it this year. We spotted a few on the telly, which is always good. But despite the BBC, oh my god, it's a time for my annual screw you BBC.
Rant.
Your coverage is terrible.
What have
In
they done?
fairness, their elite coverage is good. Like, they actually do show the races pretty well. But there's just, especially if you actually switch to the stream that is just the elite races. Like, there's a special channel you can go to on iPlayer, and it's like, oh, we'll just show you the elite races. That means there's no interruptions for a random story or an interview. Like, I swear there must be something in Gabby Logan's contract that states, like, I must be on screen for at least 50% of the London Marathon.
Right.
So like there's just so many times where it's like they could be showing you something, and it's like, no, we're gonna show you Gabby Logan talking to some organizer of the event for 20 minutes, and it's like, don't do that. kindly.
Oh, show the race?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Or show the runners that are running in a running event. It's so frustrating. And then once the elite races are done, they then obviously spend like forever interviewing everyone and their mums about it, whilst, you know, the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that are actually running the race get no coverage. And then they're like, well, look, and by the way, congratulations to all these people that are running it today. We're going to cut away to a charity sob story, so you can't see it. You can't see it. Ugh. It's so annoying. And don't get me wrong, before... I've already posted this on Facebook and already had an angry comment back saying, like, but the charities need coverage, man. That's what pays for the event. Oh, my God. And it's like, yeah, sure, well, fine. Then come up with a solution to split screen that shit. And, like, there's a way of doing it without actually ruining the coverage. And the BBC have just, they do the same thing every year. They even have these little, like, the best bit in the dumbest possible ways, like this little set bit where they go, like, well, actually, and we're going to do a little advert for BBC Sounds right now and give you a little taster of their marathon playlist, which I believe hasn't changed for the last 4 years or something. So they always play the same damn songs during this segment, but they play the songs and just show you footage of people running, which is great because it means you can then go people watching and find it's actually the best bit of the whole show because nobody's talking. Anyway, annual rant over. I'm sure I'll say the same thing next year.
I mean, it's not really an annual rant about the marathon. It's more than annual rant about any sports coverage. Yeah, because it's basically how it always goes.
In fairness, I only heard the actual word atmosphere said once. There were plenty of other mentions about the crowd.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And things like that. But the word atmosphere, I think, was only said once.
That's not bad.
So yeah, credit to that.
That's almost as... That's almost the one to watch out for, like my football quality word. Like whenever they say quality, the atmosphere. I'm sure. I'm surprised that they only said atmosphere once.
Yeah, I genuinely hate that. That is, I hate that. I hate that so much. And the atmosphere here is electric because we've got nothing else to talk about, folks. That's it. Commentary is over until someone does something.
Yeah, because it's not like, okay, how many ways can you describe the atmosphere? You can say it's electric, okay.
The crowd are wild, man. They are wild. They are into this, yo. Whoa. Look at that. Enthusiasm.
Look at that enthusiasm.
Yeah, anyway. That's my piece. It's like in that similar part of me that's like modern television is terrible category as like miking up live music events or something like that. Like how no one seems to be able to do that anymore. And I say that because like in the last week or so, like Gnome's been watching a few like some of those music documentary like or concert documentary things that are on Netflix. Including the one about the Rolling Stones, and it's like I'm sat there listening to it, and it's like, you know, recordings from live concerts and stuff like, and I'm like, this is really good. Like this is really well done for like the 70s or whenever this was recorded, and it's like modern people need to learn a thing or two about how to record the live events. This is really good.
Yeah. I suppose they were on their game, but I mean, surely equipment and stuff has improved since the 70s. I don't know. You think it would be easier?
I think it's just a style thing, right? They accentuate the reverb and the crowd and fudge it just too much, and it's like it's both not what it sounds like, I bet, when you're there, and also just not that much fun to listen to. I want to actually listen to it. I want to hear talented people do talented things. Not untalented people in the crowd go, I love you, Mum. I'm on TV. Whoa. I'm in an angry mood today. Apparently.
You just rubbed up completely the wrong way by the BBC coverage.
All your fault, Gabby Logan.
Pretty much.
Damn you, Gabby.
Other than special reporter Zachary Burgess coming in live to talk about Leak Watch in Needham Market.
Ooh, what's going on with the
still
leaks?
leaks on my road? Apparently.
Well, I didn't see this one. It's just like there was the road is closed sign at each end, and I was like, well, I'll go to the end that Rob's house is at, but I couldn't see what was happening in the middle where the leak presumably is.
Yeah, it was
exactly where it's already been leaking in the past 3 times.
However many months it's been, yeah. It was definitely, there was a big leaky hole a couple of days ago. I walked past it.
It's turned into a real classic, like, maintenance story of the, like, they keep coming and fixing it and then it breaks again immediately after they leave. It's just like they're clearly not fixing every problem, they're fixing whatever the current problem is and not noticing that they're about to cause some more problems.
I don't know if it's just moving up by like a foot each time or something, just working
like
its
the
way
whole
down.
pipe is just fucked, but you're only fixing the bit you can see and then it just leaks out the next
Then
bit.
it creates the next problem, yeah. Or there's just some like humongous design flaw in the network here that just like would require replacing the whole thing, and it's like, well, we don't want to do that. It's like,
No, of course not. Like, yeah, that's why you only fix the bit that you're looking at. Don't even think about the rest of it. Don't even think about all the money you're going to have to spend if you do anything outside this boundary. just focus on this one bit.
or the cynic in me is a bit like, well, the contractors are like, yeah, payday,
Well, maybe that too.
work forever.
Every time you have to come back and close a road, someone's getting money.
Someone's getting paid. That person is not angling water. Yeah, that's what's going on. I got a legit video game question. It's a podcast.
Really?
It's a podcast about video games. So,
Sometimes.
so one of the things I haven't been playing in the last 2 weeks is
My section.
is Star Fox 64 3D. And I'll tell you why. Zachary, why don't you just reach over there to that 3DS and open it up for a second and try pushing that there power button.
Which is the power button on this?
Oh, it's sort of bottom right edge of the screen, sort of on the front.
It died?
Well, yeah,
And look
apparently.
at what the blue light comes on for like a split second, and then nothing happens. So why don't you take that there Star Fox cartridge out and do that again?
And it turns on.
It's totally fine. And if you're feeling dangerous, you can put that cartridge right back in there. The DS will make a poppy noise and then turn off.
A poppy noise.
It's sort of, the speakers sort of go.
Oh, right. That sort of poppy noise.
Yeah. So I don't know what's happened to that cartridge, but it is fully boned.
Well, the contacts don't look great on
I've tried,
one end.
and that's after I've tried cleaning them. They looked worse. They were like, they were.
And I assume you checked not you put another cartridge in there to make sure that works.
That's what that Professor Layton cartridge over there is about. Yes, the DS is fine. It's just that cartridge seems to short something and balk. So that's frustrating because it's a cartridge that definitely was working and is now no longer working. So that's quite annoying. Any tips? That was the question in all of that.
I don't think there's anything to do, is there?
know.
Apart from clean the contacts.
Yeah, because Gnome, like, in a touch of her usual thoughtfulness, actually ordered me like a little bottle of rubbing alcohol to try and
That's nice.
try and clean the contacts. So I've had a go at them, they're definitely less black than they were.
I mean, there's still a couple that aren't great, but it's definitely distinctly worse than this latent cartridge.
Yeah, that latent cartridge is perfect, right?
Yeah.
and that works. But as I say, that Star Fox cartridge has worked before, so it's something has happened recently, and I'm not quite sure what. I did read like somewhere that like DS and 3DS cartridges can degrade.
Well, sure.
Not quite sure how, but so +1 for game creationists, I guess.
Do they have like capacitors and stuff inside? Must be tiny. Well, I don't know.
Maybe because like
You'd think it would just be like solid state memory, basically.
I
right?
forget 3DS does save on the cartridge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, does it?
I think it's switched when they stopped that, right?
It must have been before Switch. I feel like maybe 3DS has a menu. I guess I can just look now while we're talking about it. I can pick up Rob's 3DS and just look at the menu.
Because I'm pretty sure that Star Fox cartridge had a save file on it.
Sure.
Right, it had someone, because I bought it secondhand, it had someone else's previous runs on it. They didn't play it very much, as it turns out, before.
Not as much as you would.
No. Which I guess is why it ended up in CEX. Anywho, that's the next thing, I suppose. I might have to get myself another copy of Star Fox 64 3D. Sad times.
Is that a known issue, do you know, about that particular game?
That cartridge specifically, that would be weird.
No, I haven't seen...
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, I've definitely seen a few like Reddit posts about people saying, that this happens to cartridges. Not many, admittedly, but they didn't really have a resolution. One of them was for one of the Pokemon games, and they're like, but I've got thousands of hours on this thing! I've been shiny hunting for decades, or whatever. and the cartridge now does the same thing. I don't think there doesn't seem to be a resolution to that thread.
It would appear that obviously downloaded games save on the memory card, but not the cartridge games.
I see.
All of these are clearly downloads.
Which I don't have many, I don't think.
No. Pokemon Picross, obviously.
Pretty much, yeah. Whatever the badge game was.
Yep.
Maybe a demo or two, don't know.
Yep. A couple.
Not many. I'm a cartridge boy.
Why do you have the demo of Bravely Default on there and not playing the actual game? God damn it.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know why
like,
the demo
when did that demo arrive?
Or did it just deliver itself in one of those like presents that happened on the...
I don't think that's how that works.
Wasn't it?
I think you would have had to press the button specifically to get it.
I thought those presents were sort of like... Well, because there's a bunch of other ones on my like dashboard that I definitely didn't go and hunt those down. So I don't quite know why they've turned up on my home screen. Like, it's like Nintendo's just suggesting, you might like this, have a present. And maybe I opened one and it was Bravely Default.
I don't think so.
I can't remember how that worked. Anyone else got anything, any interesting anecdotes?
Looking at buying curtains, very boring, but also mind-blowingly expensive. Also, it's like I've only got 3 windows. Freaking heck! Anyway,
that's why
I think it'll be worth it though.
Yeah, they're not. I forget where we got our curtains from. Probably Dunelm or something like that. Not super expensive.
Cheaper than blinds, presumably.
Yeah, you just have to get lucky finding the right set in the right place at the right time. Like, I think we've got some IKEA stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get them like fitted, like, because I don't like the rails that I've currently got, so I want to like replace the whole thing, basically, whatever. And it'll be worth it because I suppose.
Oh, the curtain rails are easy to put up.
Yeah, exactly.
Even I can vaguely do that. Yeah, I've ballsed up maybe 3 of them in my history of putting up curtain rails. One of which wasn't my fault. That was the poor plaster it was going into that peeled away. But
yeah, so it should be good. It's just and also like these current ones are not very good, and if I do end up selling / renting this place at any point, I think it will help, so it's not like money down the drain. But yeah,
to a point, everyone always goes in and replaces the curtains. It's like that's one of the things, right? Everyone replaces.
Well, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm replacing the curtains. So that's the thing I haven't done. I got the furniture, but I didn't replace the curtains. So now it's time, I guess.
Indeed.
So that'd be good. And so I'm doing my weird plan of automated blind in the bedroom and curtains that are sheer, so that I can do, because I have this weird problem that I want to block light, but not during the day. I'll block light at night. Well, I guess it's not that unusual. Like, it's not street lights. There's a security light, and it keeps flashing on and off, and it's really annoying.
Yeah.
So my plan is to have a blind that's like a blackout-ish blind that blocks that, and then have it on automated so that it comes up in the morning, and with the curtain in front of it, so I get the natural light in the morning.
That sounds nice.
That's the plan.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that's what I've been looking into.
But what smart home system will you have
Well,
to power your blind?
Well, that one, it says it's compatible with like a HomeKit at least, which is fine by me.
Yeah.
So that'll do me. I already have the Hue bulbs operated through the HomeKit because it seems a bit more reliable than actually using the Hue app sometimes.
Weren't tempted to use Home Assistant.
I haven't.
Get yourself a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah,
if you can.
That stuff.
No, you still can't. You don't. I've been on the waiting list for a Raspberry Pi for friggin' ages.
Really?
Because I'd quite like to run a Home Assistant server.
You might be able to walk into the shop in Cambridge. I heard it's just been revamped.
Oh, right.
Get one.
That one, right, yeah. Because
they have stock, apparently.
Because the most reliable place online is the Pi Hut. Because they do pretty decent bundle deals and things like that. So here's the Pi, a case, the proper power supply and a memory stick.
Yeah.
Everything you need to get up and running. But yeah, they've not had stock. They had stock for a hot second, and I got emailed about it, and I was like, "Oh, I better pick up the bundle deal for that." And it's like, "Oh, it's gone." Great. Unless you want one of those super miniature Raspberry Pis, like the Picos or something. So I guess they're more Arduino low power.
I wonder if I could probably run it off my NAS drive thing. Is probably powerful enough to run something like that and be continuously on.
Maybe. Yeah, I thought about it, but I don't run my NAS drive all the time anymore. So Pi is probably a lot less power to run than a.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. Yep. So that's a come in, hopefully.
Home Assistant. Shout out to Paul Hibbert.
Is he the maintainer?
No, he's just a smart home YouTuber. I say,
right, okay.
But yeah, that's why I say Home Assistant, because he says it like that all the time. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've started Baby Miles down the road of saying ho at us. Because for a while I was just going Home Assistant.
Great.
Oh.
Creating in-jokes before the child even understands what a joke or an in-joke is.
So he's got.
Isn't that a Simpsons joke where, it's hi-yo, isn't it? From the, before Lisa can talk, she's like, hi-yo.
Well, we've pretty much embedded 2 favourite songs in him already. And you're
hopefully they're ones that you like.
Well, yes, because I have to sing them to him.
Yes, exactly. Because you're going to be experiencing them repeatedly.
The first is the Badger song.
Okay.
We Will Stuff Badger song, naturally.
Mushroom.
Not much of a song.
Oh, no, but I think he just likes the repetition of it. Badger. And, I get to be quite operatic with my mushrooms, which I think he quite likes. Mushroom. And then the other one that he seems to is pretty much guaranteed to get a smile out of him is to sing the theme tune to the BBC snooker coverage.
Man, your kid's going to be real boring.
But you replace... but the only lyric is the word balls.
That's okay.
So you're going,
maybe not the best idea.
So you just go, balls, 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 balls.
Balls.
He quite likes that.
Okay.
It helped make while I had the snooker on the telly for a hot minute, more interesting for Gnome anyway. Just me in the corner singing balls.
I think that made it more interesting for her. I think it made it more interesting for you.
Maybe for him. For you, yeah.
Well, he gets a song out of it and some pretty colours on TV.
And you get to say balls a lot.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Great.
So were you watching when the Extinction Rebellion people...
I did not, no. I heard about that, but I wasn't watching at the time. It's not like I followed snooker all that closely. It just happens to be on telly a lot at the moment.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the only time I've watched snooker at all recently has been at your place, I think.
It's because it's really long. Really long.
balls, balls.
And I forget it's got the rules like where it's totally legal to just have like a poop off. I don't quite know how to really describe it. Like where the white is just nestled in the reds, and they're just tapping it into the reds like every shot, and it's like.
Well, as long as it makes and breaks contact, can't have touching ball or whatever.
Well, there was one, and they were doing that for a while. And just like, and then it's like, oh god, this is going to go on forever until they actually did turn around and were like, re-rack. let's undo this. Which I kind of didn't think was a thing, but yeah, both players could agree to.
How does that work?
Well, because. As I say, this has been going on for a little while, and like the white was just nestled in the reds, and of course it's a legal shot to just touch the white, make sure it hits another red, and then that's good. That's a legal shot, and like just to keep screwing your opponent over, without creating an opening. And this has been going on for a while, and then at some point, I think they just looked at each other and were like, "Re-rack, yeah, let's re-rack."
And then the person taking the break plays an incredibly slow break that just rolls up and taps it. It's just like, oh shit, here we go again. I don't think I've ever seen anyone try and do that.
No.
Because you think that theoretically should work, right?
Yeah.
Because the whole point of the break is it's your disadvantage, essentially.
Yeah.
Because professional snooker players know how to hit the break to not make it an advantage to the other player.
So it spreads, but there's not an easy pot, right?
Yeah. But surely the ultimate tactic would be just to do a hella roller, hella trundle up to it and just park the cue ball right there.
Yeah. I mean, this is one area where pool kind of got their rules right, in that something has to hit a cushion
right
every shot. Unless it's a pot, and then it's fine. Kind of stops that kind of nonsense.
It's like you need a minimum speed rule. Ball has to be travelling at a certain speed for it to be a legal shot.
And like the sensors are built into the ball, and if it hasn't gone fast enough,
well, it'd just be Hawkeye. just Hawkeye the table from above, and then it detects how fast the ball is going.
No, I want the ball to light up and shout balls at you.
That's irrelevant to the rules in question. You just want that anyway.
I mean, it's an excuse to get it in there.
You just want Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker on the Atari, where the balls have animated faces on them all the time.
Oh yeah. Weirdly, that is not the first time that game has come up in conversation over the last week.
Because you're watching snooker. I mean, obviously.
No. I was watching a completely unrelated YouTube video about old PlayStation games, and randomly Jimmy White was mentioned. No, sorry. It was not about PlayStation games. I think it came out on the SNES or something like that. And they were like, "Oh, it's polygon graphics." Technically. Video games. We got that.
Is it polygons?
Yeah, the table in Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker was polygonized. The balls weren't. The balls were just circle sprites, but with the occasional face on them if you left it for long enough.
Right, shall we do the news?
There's a podcast about video games after all. We've got some video
What's
game
going
news.
on in video game news?
Zelda. They've got TV ads now.
Yeah, I'm still definitely trying not to watch those ones.
They're not any different.
They're ramping up.
Well, maybe not the ones that we're seeing.
No, I haven't seen anything, but they're sort of... they're weirdly cut in the sense that, like, they feel quieter than most ads normally do, right? Like, their music level is consistently lower than the ads around it, but then the voiceover feels like it's just crashing on top of it. You see what I mean? It's like they didn't duck the music level for the voiceover guy at the end that says Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, whatever. It's just like they just lowered the music so the voice sat nicely on it. It doesn't feel like a very well-made trailer, is what I'm saying. Like,
who even made it? That's the question.
Not professionally cut for the English market. Well, it probably wasn't. Like that 30 seconds was probably given to someone. It's like, here you go.
Yeah, because you have to tag on your specific store or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if it had one of those, like a
go to Tesco to buy
or
whatever.
I don't think it had one of those on it. I think Nintendo don't do that here.
Well, no, Nintendo don't do that. That's the point.
Yeah,
Other people do that.
yeah.
But that's not what we were talking about, actually.
Pre-order a game.
We're talking about the actual trailer.
No, they put out an official trailer, a trailery trailer.
Yeah. Which is basically exactly the same as the Breath of the Wild trailer. Like, it's
Pretty much.
structured exactly the same, which is weird. But I mean, I guess everyone loved the Breath of the Wild trailer, so, just do it again.
Parallels, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
makes sense.
What did we learn? Talk us through it. Or what did we not learn?
Well, let's not talk through the whole thing, because there's lots of little bits that you could extrapolate endlessly, I guess. But
Okay, bullet point me. What's interesting?
well, I mean, the obvious ones are time travel confirmed, obviously,
Right, yeah.
because there's several things that could point to that. So there's a scene where you see Link standing in the Hyrule Castle throne room, but it's like new,
Yeah.
which is like obviously that's not going to be current time, and it doesn't look like a memory or anything. Like he's actually there in whatever form this is. And then when you see Zelda, and she's clearly in Hyrule because you can see like the hills or whatever in the background, there's no sky islands in the sky. And it's like, well, okay, so she's not in the current time either then.
More memories.
Well,
Chica memories.
maybe, but then she's in her like current haircut and all that stuff. It's not like that's a memory either. And then the one that I find with like more subtle but less subtle is like when there's a moment they're using that weird like backwards sounding voice thing that they used in the first trailer as part of the music. But there's a bit where all the other music drops out and it's just that voice, except it very clearly is not like backwards because it just pretty much, you can clearly just hear it say the future or our future possibly, which is, it's noticeable because of the T, like the hard T sound, which doesn't come up very much in all those other backwards sounding sound effects of that. So there's that. So time travel confirmed basically. And then probably Seven Sages confirmed.
Oh, okay.
Because when they've showed the like that brown mural thing that they show occasionally in the trailers, they've already shown that there appears to be 7 tiers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then when you see the tiers in this trailer, they're conveniently color coded and they're held by certain representatives of certain races in a way that the Seven Sages would do.
You mean the new champions?
I don't know why people always keep calling them that. Like,
What?
they're nothing to do with the champions.
What?
Sometimes explicitly nothing to do with the champions.
Yeah, but they sort of fill that role.
Yeah, kind of. Because it's like Tebber is just a guy, and now it's just his son. It's not even Tebber.
Is he not like some like badass or like ranking warrior of the?
I mean, he's just he's a good fighter from the Rita or whatever. But he's just a guy. It's just like, or I mean, I guess maybe they never specifically say that he's not related to Rivali or whatever. But
he might have ranked up now, right? After doing stuff.
Sure, but that's not why. Like, he's not descended from the champion. That's the thing in Breath of the Wild. And in this game, if it is Seven Sages, then that's like not related to the champions either. That could just be anyone. You could just randomly be the one of the sages and not know about it the entire time until magic happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to side-on action.
Yes, actually, I'll be interested to see mechanically how that will actually function. Like, they've had to actually program like AI to be able to do things.
He was shown fighting. But does that necessarily mean that he's fighting alongside you?
Well, he's literally fighting alongside you in that clip. Like, you're attacking the same enemy.
I mean, I'm hoping it's not like a flashback or a cutscene or something.
Yeah, it looks like gameplay.
Yeah, but with a fudged
side camera. Yeah.
Side camera.
But yeah, I don't know what. And then I guess in the other sequence with Rito Tulin, where you're flying, he's like flying next to you, and it's just like, I mean, that's not that different from how it worked in Breath of the Wild, I guess. But what the actual combat AI might be is the interesting part. And also because, apparently according to that trailer, there's going to be a lot of other random NPCs fighting monsters now. All the random Hylians all over the place, wearing buckets and And apparently fedoras. No one seems to have picked that one up.
Doris.
Like when it does the pan through the battlefield where Link's riding the horse, one of the first Hylians you see at the front clearly is wearing a fedora. Like Buckethead guy, that makes sense. Fedora guy, I don't know about that.
Other than being pretty sweet. Is there like some kind of sub-clan now that's like with the Fedora clan?
Oh man, I hope so. It's like the
we run Linux
Hyrule
over
Mafia.
Has there ever been a organized crime element in Zelda?
I mean, is that not the Ragey clan or at this point?
No,
Well,
they're not really organised crime. They're
Steal
just
the bananas.
not
bad
like
guys.
Yakuza.
It's got to be something in Majora's Mask that's
You know,
pretty close, right?
Yeah, there's nothing in Cocktown, is there? Like there's a conspiracy to steal all the milk or something.
I mean, you could say that the building crew is sort of a mafia-esque operation going on.
Terrytown.
No, they're definitely not. No mafia there, I don't think. Presumably, we're going to be seeing them a hell of a lot in this game.
Building a family.
They do all have to have the same name, which is quite...
That is...
that's suspicious.
That's a little more culty than mafia-y.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Form of racism, I guess.
It's like you have to
Well,
be
except
Sicilian.
it's conveniently not racism because they managed to find people with that name in all the different races somehow.
It's nominalism.
That's true.
If they just created a new type of
Nominalism.
Nominalism, yeah.
Presumably they're going to
Just
be real busy
hate
in this game.
Daves.
Yeah, well, maybe
No
if the Fedora
focus.
guys are called Dave, he's more appropriate. And I think that's all we really need to talk about in that trailer. There's a bunch of other more rumory, or not rumory, theoretical stuff, I guess.
Yeah, the one the one I heard about Ascend, like there was some sort of like bullet point somewhere in some marketing that suggested you could ascend through certain enemies.
That could just be a
interesting.
talus.
Yeah.
Because they made a rock.
Yeah.
It would be kind of convenient rather than having to climb them.
Yeah, that's true. Or you could just build your own mech to attack the talus. Effectively.
What, you reckon there's
It's
going to be
kind of
enough
what they showed
control to have
versus-
like arm punching?
Well, they show like the thing in the trailer, the little weird cube mobile that he's driving seems to have some kind of arm on the side, but it just like vaguely waves around. It doesn't seem to necessarily do anything in that shot, but who knows what the actual control will be. I mean, then there's that bit where it's just like a wheel that has a ton of lasers attached to it that just spins and kills everything in the vicinity. How did that get there, though? That's the actual question. Can you like airdrop? Can you like build something somewhere and then just airdrop it?
Man, what blueprint out.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
That was one of my theories about like those weird platforms that you see a lot. That they'd be like drop points, so you can call in vehicles that you've built somewhere else. Maybe it's like Robbie has a super hot air balloon or something where he just brings you the shit.
That would be so cool.
Yep, I know.
It's like that button in like Saints Row where it's just like, I need a tank.
Yeah, I mean, basically. Yes, who knows how that's going to work? Because that would be like, that's the obvious solution to being like, how are you going to get stuff to build things everywhere? Or like, how is it not going to be annoying that you're going to have to build everything everywhere, like, rather than
all at once,
pulling a design out or whatever?
Not Saints Row, it's Just Cause where you just airdrop like crates in with. It's probably both, actually.
Yeah, probably both. But yeah, apart from that, I've been vaguely attempting not to watch anything else. I'll watch the official things. I don't want to watch any other like leaks or too much of the TV advert footage that might have like randomly put something that you shouldn't see in it. Because
I think we're probably good at this point. I think that they've. I mean, even I'm sort of sat here thinking, this isn't the whole picture. Right, there's more to it than what we've seen, and if not, that's a real disaster.
Well, that's where the leaks were coming though. I mean, supposedly one of the new characters in the trailer. If you've seen the art book leak, you already know who that is.
Well, I don't know who that is because I'm not going to look at the leak.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it accidentally comes up on my Twitter feed, and then I'll curse.
Yep.
Hasn't so far.
So do you think there's further evidence that there are like full-on dungeons?
Not really. I mean, as much as everyone keeps shouting that whenever they watch the trailer, it's just like a large building emerging out of the desert does not necessarily equal a dungeon.
No,
there's enough.
It's true.
Distinct enough looking environments in a strange way, right? There's nothing that looks like totally different from anything we've seen before.
There's the
really,
underground,
right?
there's clearly the giant cave in Death Mountain, but that could just be a cave, not like a specific dungeon. And then there's you could maybe consider clearly the flying boats thing going into the tornado above the mountain. In some ways, you might be able to consider that a dungeon if it's the tornado blocks access from the outside, the only way to get in is through one entrance, and therefore it's like a contained.
Yeah.
But then you're getting into what is the definition of a dungeon exactly?
I mean, you could argue the mazes were dungeons.
Yeah, in some ways.
Yeah. Or
I suppose so.
Or the special islands, right, with the special rules.
Eventide Island, yeah, that's kind of a mini dungeon, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
A mungeon.
Obviously.
Or a mingeon. Lol. Got any more Zelda? Is it? Are we Zelda'd out until May?
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully we won't have to talk about it anymore. There won't be any additional leaks that get through to us.
I don't think Ninty are going to say much more than this now.
Well, no, I don't think they are going to say it. I mean, even though some people still seem to think there's going to be a direct.
No, at this point, I really don't think so.
No, they've done it all now.
Yeah, they did that. They did that
combination of the gameplay demo.
Yeah,
and the trailer.
That's as much as they're going to say. Because speaking of that, FF16 did that. They basically took over a state of play and were like, "Here's the game. Here's gameplay. Here's a walkthrough of Final Fantasy XVI. It's a character action game now,
more so than it was before."
I mean, yeah. Apparently, it's got the combat director from Devil May Cry on this thing.
Sure.
Which I guess explains the direction they're taking. But yeah, Final Fantasy XVI looks the least Final Fantasy I think the game has ever been. And I think I might be on board with that, because I'm not sure I've really enjoyed the direction they've been going with the last few.
Because I guess it's because it's been a half step.
Yeah.
They haven't actually made a character action game, but they've also still tried to have Final Fantasy things in it.
They wanted to sort of make it a little bit loosey. The problem was it was very loose, but had the odd timing-based thing in it. So it's you were vaguely giving your characters commands and they were sort of go and do it, but it wasn't, and it would all play out in real time, but ultimately didn't feel very hands-on or feel like I had much control of particularly what was happening. So I guess they've looked at that and gone, well, the solution is give you all the control.
But then it's not really a Final Fantasy game.
But then, yeah, is it a Final Fantasy? I think that's my key question regarding it. Sure, it's got the scope, sure, it's got the size, it's got summons, it's got Ifrit, it's got everything. It's got the trappings, right? But is it a Final Fantasy game because it's not an RPG anymore? Should they have stuck to the FF7 remake sort of rule book, which I think actually walks the line really well?
Yeah.
Should they have stuck to that for mainline Final Fantasy games, and called this something else, a spin-off, I suppose Stranger of Chaos was similar, right? That was also a character action game.
Well, it's not like there haven't kind of been Final Fantasy spin-offs before.
No. I mean, there's been a billion.
Well, yeah, I meant not just, I meant different types of game, not just weird side worlds.
So it's a weird one. Also, shout out to possibly the least fantastical protagonist name ever, Clive. I mean, where's your clouds? Where's your Squalls. Where's your Noctis?
Why didn't they just decide to make it? Why didn't they make this the game where Sid is actually the main character?
I mean, Sid's in it.
Oh, I mean, of course he is, but why not make him? If you're going to have a boring name, at least have the one boring name that Final Fantasy always has.
In fact, Sid isn't just in it. He's voiced by the. I can never remember the guy's name, but he's a British voice actor and proper actor who's got like this amazing deep northern accent that if you've watched Dave in the last few years, he'll have been the guy that had been like, Dacia sponsors prime time on Dave. They've got that guy to play Sid, and it's like this embodies the slight, like even Gnome picked up on this. Final Fantasy XVI is northern as hell, like northern England as hell. Like all of the voice acting is like Sean Bean, and like I really hope Sean Bean's in it. Like it's got that, it's exuding that vibe, and I'm down for it. And like a bit of me was like Gnome was like, why would they choose to do that? And I'm like, well, because it gives their fantasy environment some flavour, right? It's like Ni no Kuni fairies all being Welsh. Yeah, it's something. I mean, they could have made them all Scottish, I guess, but like, has there been a game that's like, hasn't been a Final Fantasy game? I guess that's done Scottish before, but
the actual question is like, are they northern because it's literally like a northern place in the Final Fantasy world?
I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Every voice seems to have a northern twinge. Moogles are in it as well. Moogles back,
of course.
How
northern are they? We go Detective Pikachu, Moogles.
Whoop, pet. Yeah, I think Final Fantasy XVI looks good. My worry is that Squeenix, they don't
know what the fuck they're doing at the moment.
They don't know what the hell they're doing. It's not long after Forspoken came out, which is, for all intents and purposes, a character action game in a big fantastical universe.
But you might as well have put the words Final Fantasy on it. It probably would have been.
It probably would have, other than the whole weird New York angle.
Well, I mean, Final Fantasy Tactics kind of takes that, right?
Do they?
Where you start in the real world and then.
Do they? I've forgotten all of that.
You go into the book and then, like.
Right, so it's real world and then you somehow end up in Evilise.
Yeah, your dad's totally like a drunk in the first game.
Wow.
And your brother is a cripple, and then when you go to the book, it's like, oh, he's fine now, which is, the dramatic tension of like, oh, I have to go back to being a cripple in the real world.
Weird. I don't remember that at all.
I mean, it's not super important, but that is the whole, like, overarching story of Tactics, both of them.
How strange.
Not the original one, I guess.
What, the advanced ones?
The advanced ones, not actual Tactics.
Right, that might be why because I haven't played the A's. And
You've seen me play them a lot.
I've seen you play them a lot, yeah. The only other note I have, I suppose, from this thing was like, okay, yeah, you've got a doggo. That's cool. My problem with like it looks good as well. Visually, it really does look great. But I have a slight concern that it falls into the camp of, like a lot of character action games do, where there is a lot of effect work going on, and I'm a bit worried that most of the time I actually won't be able to see the character in a character action game because there'll be too many effects going on and too much weird magical shit happening around me that I can't actually fathom what's actually happening. It looked a little bit like that. And in fairness, this thing was kind of like, it didn't really go into detail to explain its combat mechanics all that much. Like, it didn't go into the detail of how that, I had 20 minutes for this thing, and they were just content to say, let's take a look at Clive. Let's just watch Clive for a while. Clive looks great, doesn't he? That was basically the vibe they had from this thing. Let's just look at this for a bit. So we don't actually really know. I think like how it actually plays yet. Anyway, Final Fantasy XVI. It's out in June. They've put a hard date on it. Also got kaiju fights as well, so they're doing the Bayonetta thing.
Yes, that's another like slightly suspicious, like making it too much like character action games where you're basically taking that same idea.
Yeah, and they even lent into the thing. It's like, what do they call them? They called them icons or something now. They sounded a lot like icons to me, but no, it's like icons with an EI because they like
Eidolons.
Yeah, sort of, but not quite. They sort of lent into the fact it's like there's almost like how Bayonetta 3, like every like area ended in a weird kaiju fight, like that was different each time. That Final Fantasy might be doing that as well, because they were like, look at these kaiju fights, they're all different, and like there'll be different scenarios. There'll be one where you're flying around and doing like Panzer Dragoon type stuff, or dogfighting in the air. There's one where you'll be basically like playing a fighting game and like mushing up some rock monster as Ifrit, or it's like, this looks a lot like Bayonetta. And it's like, how much influence did this Devil May Cry guy have? Like, have they just made Devil May Cry, but bigger? And with a lot more budget.
I mean, that might be fun.
Yeah, I think it looks really interesting. Like, it's, if nothing else, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I just hope it
different.
I just hope it doesn't fall into that Forspoken category, because people didn't seem to really gel with Forspoken all that well.
Not at all, apparently. Yeah.
And I'm not sure they should have called it Final Fantasy, but whatever. Like. Like a numbered Final Fantasy. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's definitely interesting. So, in slightly more recent releases, so we're still talking like May here, early May, Redfall is still due to come out. Don't worry, it hasn't been delayed. But
still coming out.
But it's going to be mildly compromised because Bethesda have stated that it's, or Arcane, I should say, have stated that it's going to release on console with the quality mode only. The performance mode, as in the 60 FPS mode, is going to be released at a later date, and haven't specified how late that is. So, if you're like me and want that 60 FPS mode, yeah, it's 100% got to be that, right? If there's something that, you know, when they try and put it in performance mode, it's not hitting that target for some reason. It must be that.
Yeah.
And they're being coming out up front and saying, look, we're not going to have that dialed in time, because like it launches in like a week or two, I think. So it's like, it's really not far away at this point. But boy, does the internet seem to have not reacted well to that. I think with some people likening it to the release of Cyberpunk, and I'm like, whoa, hold on now, guys. Like, okay, Cyberpunk came out very compromised, shall we say?
It's like the game being bad that it can't run at anything more than 30, except it's actually on purpose. It's not like it's bad. It's not like it's terribly optimized and it can't run better than 30. It's just that they haven't got round to that part yet. No. But it's deliberately set to run at 30.
Yeah. So it's. I mean, I guess it must be mildly annoying if you're planning to play this day one, because it is going to obviously it's a Bethesda release, so it's a day one Game Pass launch and all that kind of jazz.
Right.
It's discouraging if you're that kind of player. But for the rest of us, like I guess smart gamers, just hold off for a bit if it really bothers you. I'll be honest with you, It might bother me because I don't know what the pace of the game is like, right? It's not like shooters can't be good at 30 FPS.
No, I mean,
Halo
Reach was 30 FPS.
Yeah. All of the Halos until 4, right? Were 30. So yeah, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. It just depends how fast it plays, right? And how that feels, and how much impact that really has. So yeah, hold your horses, guys. Redfall might still be good.
I mean, the problem with that is that, like, hold your horses for an unspecified amount of time. That's the actual problem.
That is the problem. Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's yeah, and it's just hard to be, and I wouldn't say that like the marketing train has been too strong on Redfall now.
No,
if you see what I mean. Weirdly, it has gone a bit quiet. Like there was it came up at every Microsoft event until the month maybe where it mattered. Like now should be the time where you should be pushing the game, and they're really quiet. It's weird. It's slightly weird, but I don't know. I think Redfall does have hype behind it. the previews have been positive. So
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to check it out. Just because it's a Microsoft exclusive.
Because it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, we don't get many of those.
I mean, it's only technically a Microsoft exclusive. I think we can still call the Bethesda games at this point only technically Microsoft.
Yeah, maybe.
Got like one more round of releases, and then they'll be on to this is actually under Microsoft fully.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is the first, because obviously the last was Deathloop, right?
Yeah,
And that was that had a PlayStation that had a PlayStation deal pre acquisition.
But, Starfield hasn't come out yet. That'll be the. I think that'll be the cutoff.
Is that going to be timed exclusive or exclusive? Moving on. Talking about things that have been delayed. Suicide Squad. Oh dear. Clearly that little delay after the
thing that nobody liked.
Yeah, when they released their gameplay footage, and be like, sorry, what are you making? Which I think was, it's a little bit justified. I guess people aren't really into the whole live service thing, really, or the talkative people aren't very into the live service thing. It's like, what do you mean you're making a live service game with okay looking combat?
Well, generically similar looking combat.
So this thing, they delayed it a little bit when that news came out. They were saying, we're pushing it back a touch. That was May, supposedly. Now, how does February fit? Yeah, that's February next year. That's quite a lot longer.
Yeah.
It's like 9 months longer.
Yeah.
That's a big delay. So I guess they're not happy with the structure of that thing after all? Or there's some significant problem? I don't know what the fuck's going on with that thing. I mean, it's probably good. It's probably right. Do you think? Well, they must think it was. Well, obviously, they think it's the right decision, but
I'm sure it probably is the right decision for all involved, apart from maybe those fronting up the money for it, where it'll end up costing them more money to make, but in the exchange for hopefully being more of a success when it actually comes out.
Yeah. It's always the risk with
probably sensible.
A high-profile delay like this. It's like, is the publisher in sunk cost land, and they're like, "Oh, we just put more money into it because we think it's going to be bad," or should they have just put it out the door? We'll never know. But one can assume for Rocksteady's future, this game needs to be good, right? Because they haven't put out a game in ages.
Yeah, I still wonder if it's the same Rocksteady. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, a lot of the leaders of the original, one of half the founding team has left, isn't that the case? So it's at least 50% of what it once was. That might be true. Anyway, delayed in February next year. Don't get hype. Sega has bought Rovio for nearly $800 million. Rovio, for those that aren't in the know, rhymes. They own Angry Birds. They made Angry Birds. That is their thing,
right.
And I don't think
I'm surprised that Sega could afford to buy the people that made Angry Birds.
That, and also why? Like, I don't think Rovio is super famous for anything else.
No. Yeah,
and also Angry Birds is hella old and not really is it really a property that carries weight anymore? Because those even the films were and are many years ago now.
I mean, of course the films were there. That's it's a video game movie.
But I'm just
of a nothing game.
But yeah, does that brand and does that company actually hold any weight at all, let alone $800 million of weight?
Are you still getting the Star Wars? Getting part of the Star Wars license from that? Probably not.
Yeah, I doubt there's any hook. What do you mean? What was Star Wars Rovio in some way?
Angry Birds Star Wars.
Oh,
Angry Birds brand.
That did happen.
Something. Angry Birds Transformers.
Wait, did that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm kind of surprised there hadn't been an Angry Birds Sonic, because, that seems like something that could easily cross over.
You're just throwing Sonics at badniks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or, like, birds painted in Sonic colours.
Well, yeah, it would have to be birds that look vaguely like Sonic characters.
Oh, and then their, like, second tap action could be the homing attack.
Yep.
Yeah, alright, fine. That could happen.
But, that concept is not worth 800 million.
Oh, I love it when you go to the Rovio website, it's like, and you go to the game section, it's like, it basically presents you with Angry Bird, 2 links, Angry Birds, others. Like,
Right, well, at least they know what they are.
they've apparently also made Darkfire Heroes, Small Town Murders, Sugar Blast, and that's it.
And then a million different forms of Angry Birds.
Yeah, basically, Angry Birds Match, Angry Birds Pop, Angry Birds Friends, Angry Birds Dream Blast, Angry Birds 2, Angry Birds Journey. Oh my god, there's a lot of Angry Birds games. Anywho, it's a weird one. But yeah, I guess Sega want mobile games.
Yeah, I guess.
So why not hire a big dev to make them, I guess.
Even though they've already made mobile games before.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a big... Seems like more of a merger. I don't know.
How much is Sega actually
Sega
worth?
must be bigger than 800 mil.
I guess.
It cost you that much to buy Sonic. No one would want it, but you...
Speaking of things no one wants.
Speaking of things no one wants, Atari have bought like 100 IPs or something.
Whatever Atari has bought 100
Yeah,
IPs.
whatever Atari is. They've just bought up a whole bunch of retro IPs, including Bubsy.
Bubsy 3D.
Oh, yeah.
Who owned Bubsy before? Was it like in television?
I don't know. I have no idea who owned Bubsy
Data
before.
East or something.
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to find a slightly stronger list of the things that they bought, but I'm not sure it's there.
For a bunch of things people care about even less than Bubsy.
Yeah. It's it turned out it's pretty hard to find. Hardball. Oh, and of all things, Demolition Racer.
Okay.
It's a PlayStation 1 era racing game, which I actually own.
Who made that? Not Psyonix.
No, definitely not Psyonix or Psygnosis or anyone like that. It's not that. Oh, well, no, wait, Demolition. Which one is it? It's Destruction Derby, right? Not Demolition.
No, yes.
That's
Demolition Racer. Destruction Derby.
Yeah, Demolition Racer is Demolition Racer was the much faster paced, like actual racing that just you could just destroy other cars as well. Yeah, weird. We'll never see those. Stardew Valley has got a patch.
Because somehow they won't stop patching it. It's not quite got to Terraria levels of never stop patching it, but but he's meant to be working on a completely different game at this point. Also.
Yeah, which obviously screams, is that game being delayed then?
Well, I mean, delayed from a non-existent date because they've never said when it's going to come out.
He's never said a date. Yeah.
Delayed from nothing to nothing.
I mean, it could just be like, things that he was working on in the new game happened to be backported. Like, it
could be.
It was just easy to take this thing he'd already made for the new game and just put it back into Stardew.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Or maybe it's Oh, yeah. I mean, it could be a testing ground, right?
Yeah,
Be like, I'll launch this feature into Stardew, so they, so this code gets a bit of like real life testing.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what's in the actual Stardew patch. I haven't looked at it, so.
Well, yes, because as you told me, you don't want to look at it lest you go back and play it.
Yeah, like, severe risk of just starting to play Stardew again.
which is fair.
I mean, more likely that I'd end up playing it with someone again, multiplayer.
Sure.
Not by myself again, I don't think. Maybe. But then just talking about it, that's risky.
So, hard luck those that have got Haunted Chocolatier on their Fantasy Critic League.
Well, you better counterfeit it then if you don't think it's going to come out.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking tempting, right? It's looking tempting. It's a risky one though,
Yeah,
because I'm sure Haunted Chocolatier will be great, but
or at least more than 70.
yeah. And finally, Team Reptile continue to prove that they are a video game studio that has somehow been able to infiltrate my mind and create the perfect video game. Bomber Cyberpunk gets another couple of trailers, and it's got a date. It's out August 18th.
Got a date.
It's out August 18th this year.
I suppose that's technically summer.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's summer, and hot damn, everything about this game looks exactly how I want it.
I still think the same thing I did before, even having seen some of their trailers, that like it looks like just 100% ripoff with no originality of its own.
I do not care.
Recreated.
if that is what they've done, like if it's even if it's like 99% of the way there and still hasn't like I don't care. It's like it's nailing it. Like
Fair
it's
enough.
it's been long enough. So that's all I need.
Fair enough.
Because no one else is doing it, right?
It's true.
If they even just get close, just the air of it about, then it's a success.
Hmm.
I mean, they've already proven they can do it. Honestly, like Lethal League Blaze kind of had that vibe about it.
Yeah,
already.
that's true.
It's just that. Oh, it's just even the like the retroness of how like the crowd get out of the way. It's not like it's a modern smooth animation. They just like snapped at the getting out of the way of it. It's just yeah, everything about this is just. Oh, it's perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Could not be more hype. That's the news.
Right. I guess it's time for what you've been playing. Who's been, or what you've not been playing? Zach's sequence. Maybe we should start with that, since Rob, you had yours earlier on.
What have you not
Star
been
Fox
playing?
3D. What have you not been playing, Zach?
Let me list everything. I think I've been specifically not playing anything in particular in a way that I would have used the not playing section to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure, because normally when I talk about what I haven't been playing, it's because patches have been happening in my Steam feed. And now I'm trying to think of what has patched. I guess Against the Storm has had some fairly significant patches, and I haven't been playing that for a while. That sound like they're doing even more rebalancing than they already were, because they already did the rebalance of like the weird like blight of the storm or whatever that used to just infect your buildings. They tried to change that mechanic, and I haven't played since they changed that. But now they've added a fifth race, which even when we were talking about the fourth race, it's like, this is going to become a balancing nightmare, surely. The more races you add, because you only get 3 per run.
Right, yeah.
So you have to make it balanced for every possible combination, or at least, possible for every possible combination. So yeah, the fifth race has arrived. And I believe that's meant to be the last one, according to like the roadmap / Kickstarter or whatever promises. They were like, there's only going to be 5 races. But the trouble is that every time they've added these, when they added the 4th and 5th race, they did it via a like vote thing where they were like, here's 3 possible races, choose which one you want, which then just makes everyone be like, well, why don't you also make these other ones? It's like, you showed us them, why don't you just make them? If you already had these concepts, if you already had the ideas where you could have turned it into a real thing, why don't you just do it? Same with like the Minecraft mob votes every time they do that, where it's like you have these 3 different choices. Why not just make all of them?
Yeah, make them all, please. I mean, that's not strictly how time and resource works, but sure. Wish for that.
It's fun. The thing is, in Minecraft, like then the modders just make the other ones.
Right.
It's like the one that gets voted gets made for real, and then the modders just make the other ones. Just put them in that way. Usually before the actual real one comes out.
I was about to say, yeah, do the mobs even actually make it into the game? Like,
so yeah, that's what's been happening in Against the Storm news. Also, my updates on Steam has been being thoroughly spammed by space engineers. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that currently.
okay.
It sounds like they're doing like it already had a kind of like programming thing. I think it just had like a actual script, like you just type script and then you can make it do stuff. But now it seems to be going towards like being able to actually have fully programmable entities where it's just like you could actually have an automated ship, like you could have a automatic mining ship that goes out and finds the minerals and actually can find the docking ports and attach and unload and all that stuff without having to do it via just like actual programming. You can just sort of, well, actually I don't know how much actual programming this will require, but it seems like they've tried to make it more advanced and more user-friendly possibly. Because every time I looked at the scripting stuff in Space Engineers before now, I'm just like, I'm not going to try and fucking learn this Space Engineer specific language just to get it to open a door. That's too much effort.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not going to talk about what games I have been playing because Rob should go first for a change.
Oh.
But we've had the break of what I haven't been playing, so now Rob's going to talk about what
you
he
say
has.
so. All right then, Rob, go for it.
Okay, where to begin? Well, let's continue, shall we? Where I left off last time. Let's talk about Ni no Kuni.
Right. How many hundreds of hours has that gone on?
I'm 20 hours in
Okay,
at this point. I finally have a full contingent. I finally have 3 party members, and which means up to 9 accessible Pokemon at any one time. They're not Pokemon; they're familiars, but it's a Pokemon-like system. I am falling out with this game. It is starting to get irritating. I still like its presentation, and I still like the general cut of its jib, but it fumbles the gameplay. I think. I'm beginning to not understand where when did the original come out? Like 2016. I'm starting to not understand the fervor that it got, because it feels quite flawed to me at times. For one thing, like as you gain party members, the combat just starts to feel really very chaotic. It was quite quick when you were on your own, but now that there's 2 other people doing things as well, there can be a lot happening all at once, and you're not really given as a player the ability to react to what's happening very quickly. So I don't know, there might be some like really nasty attack coming in that you want to go, I need to switch to defend. It's like, okay, in most cases you can cancel out of what that familiar is doing at the time, but then you've got to navigate a menu to find the defend command and then press A to do that, which depending on what you used last is going to be some varying numbers of pressing away. That's too slow. In most cases, that is too slow a process to actually react to what's happening around you. So a bit of me thinks it's like, well, that's fine. Maybe me as the player, that's going to not work very well. My AI companions will be able to pull that off, no problem, right? No, they are the dumbest people on the planet. They have the worst combat AI. They have a tendency to just go into okay, you've just walked out of a hotel, let's say, and you've got I've got maximum health, maximum MP, brilliant. Let's go take on the world. First fight you get into with the tiniest little midgets you can imagine, they've just burnt all their MP on the strongest magic attack and thrown all of it at these little ants of enemies, And it's like, well, great. Now what we're going to do for the rest of this journey, you idiots? And it's like, sure, there is so I'm getting to the point where I feel like maybe I need to actually switch the tactics option into don't do any abilities, which you can do, but you have to do that in the middle of a fight. So I have to spend some time switching, not throwing out my familiar, because you can't change tactics unless your guy, when your current character has a familiar out in play. I have to then go to him and then say, no, okay, fine, it's my turn. On my turn, I'm going to navigate the menu to the tactics option and go into that. Okay, now I can set them to not do anything, which would be really nice to be able to do before a fight. I should be able to set up the tactics going into it.
Yeah.
And then perhaps play it out that way. So basically, with the AI, the only thing they can do is send out familiars and do basic attacks unless I take control of them. Because that's the other problem. You can't at any point just stop the action and go, oh, you need you character, you over there, yeah, you. Can you throw this specific ability at this specific enemy to stop this specific scenario? You can't do that.
You can't do that.
There's no control for that at all. And it's
okay.
Really frustrating. This is the weirdest thing I'm probably going to say about the game, is Ni no Kuni would really benefit from a Final Fantasy XIII style paradigm shift system.
Sure.
Because that's how it feels like the combat wants to play out. I want to be able to switch to, I need a defensive stance now. Everyone get everyone get hench and stand there for a moment. Now I need you to be on a specific type of attack. And now you need to be using magic. Okay, fine. I want to be able to make those decisions quick, and there is no way to do that. So what actually just plays out is your AI companions die randomly, and it'll be like, well, now I'm screwed, because now all of the enemies are now swarming me, and I don't have time to both fend them off and heal and everything else. So I'm going to die as well. So I've been dying a lot, which means when I say 20 hours, it's probably much more than that, because it's one of those game clocks that you reload back into.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm finding that quite a strain. So basically what it has boiled down to is the only surefire tactic in this game is grind and just level everyone up to the point where this isn't a problem, and they can. But that's compounded by the fact that the difficulty spikes are sudden and quite extreme at times. You'll just wander into the next. You'll be following the story through, thinking I've done everything I can possibly do in this current area. Right, let's go to the next one, only to be met with a quite extreme difficulty spike. So your first few fights are really very hard in this area. So then you're spending time going, right, well, I'm going to have to do this to the circuitous route. I can't go where I need to go yet, because there's this wall of enemies that it suddenly changes to be hard mode. So I need to approach the wall, do a fight, run away and heal, and go back to a hotel miles away to do an HP and MP upgrade, reset, and then come back and then grind it up again. Oh, it's getting a bit tedious. It's getting a bit tedious.
Because you don't know how pre-ground to be.
No, these difficulty walls are quite hard. And it's compounded further by the Pokemon/familiar system, because it's not just your characters that have levels. Every single familiar has its own level. And to use Pokemon terminology, experience share is on, but it's the people that are those familiars have to be attached in your party, and they can't be the reserves either. You get 3 reserves that you're allowed to bring in and out of the party, but before a fight. But they don't get the experience. You can't just have them hanging around in the background. They have to actually be in. So yeah, you've got to level everyone up. And I've got to a specific. I'm at the point at the moment where I really need a specific element. I need storm-based familiars, of which I don't have that many, and I haven't been using up to this point. So it's okay, now the grind begins anew, because now I've got to grind these Pokemon up to the right level. Oh, it's getting a bit much. It's getting a bit much. I didn't get into this because it's not even as cool as playing Pokemon, right? Where I get to specifically pick what I need to do, and there's no tactics or strategy.
Right.
There's not really tactics or strategy to this. It's just I just need one, and I need it leveled up. How do I do that? Time. old grandfather time. I don't know. It's starting to fall apart. But I kind of want, like, but I'm so, like, I'm 20 hours in, man. Like, sunk cost fallacy. Like, do I bail on it, or do I?
How many achievements do you have?
Very, very few.
Well, that's not surprising.
It's super stingy. I have like 70 out of 1,000 points on this thing so far. And most of the quests do just result in that they are effectively some variant of a fetch quest. Like, you must go here. Click a thing. Great, you got the thing. Come back and give it to a person. Yep, that's pretty much all they are. And they don't give you. They might give you some like a little monetary reward or an item. But the thing you're really after with those are these merit stamps. So you want to build up the merit stamps so you can then get like these weird little upgrades, like, oh, in battle you will gain more XP and things like that, are like permanent upgrades. And it's like, you really want all of those, but in order to get all of those, you've got to do these mundane fetch quests. I like the Welsh. You get to visit a whole town of the fairies, and they're all Welsh. It's pretty great.
Oh, they're all Welsh.
All Welsh.
It's not just.
It's the fairy race in this game. They're all Welsh.
Right, I see.
and they're all about comedy. Apparently, that's like literally. Like, they're all about
Welshman.
comedy.
Okay.
It's like they live to put on comedy.
Oh,
acts.
right. They all aspire to be stand-ups.
Yeah, basically. That's their thing.
The height of Welsh elf culture or fairy culture.
Yeah, so it's.
They all have a type 5.
I mean, you get to watch it like I'm not sure it's a type 5. It's more like a week 2 minutes, a week 2.
Yeah, okay.
There's like a cutscene where it's basically that, and everyone's bawling with laughter. It's like, look at these two guys riff on each other, and I'm like, it's all right. It's average.
Yeah, considering it's the focus of their whole culture, it could be a bit better material.
Oh yeah, because it's a plot line where you have to get these two guys to actually put on a show that will make Mother Fairy laugh her ass off, and so then you can do another thing. Like, yeah, it's part of it. It's part of the plot. Ni no Kuni. So, yeah, it feels underbaked. Or like the mechanics just haven't quite been thought through. Which is a shame, because it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks
the music's nice, and its tone is nice, and it's some of its old school trappings are endearing, but it's not. It's losing my patience. It is losing it. To the point where I've been playing more retro stuff. And pretty much nothing else, really. So, this week, I have been mostly playing a mix of Rapid Racer and Rage Racer. So, I'm still playing that Rapid Racer. So that's that their boat racing game that Sony Computer Entertainment Europe internal development team, catchy name, made. And that game is obscenely difficult. And I'm still playing it in easy mode. And it's like, I've got to the point where I got through all the night tracks. And I think I've got all of the, all if not most if not all, that's the way around you say that, of the boat upgrades during those races. So then it unlocks, here's another series of races. These are the mirror races. And it's like, okay, great. Well, so day mirror tracks now. And presumably I'll get night mirror next.
Presumably.
And all they really mean is it's the same tracks as before, but they're mirrored. And then what they've done is they've changed the buoy positions so that it's even more awkward to get to, or there's fewer boost power-ups, something like that. And made the time limit even harsher. So, it's an arcade racer. You go through checkpoints. You get time extensions, and they've just made those limits really hard. It's really hard. And couple it with its bizarre water handling, where you only really feel 50% in control at any moment. is really difficult. It's really difficult. I don't know if I've played it wrong because I've upgraded all 3 of the starter boats to maximum, and then I realized if you upgrade them past maximum, that's how you unlock a boat in the next tier.
Right.
So I've made the mistake of like upgrading all of the tier 1 boats to max, and then I realized I could do this thing. Unlocked one tier 2 boat that was just worse. So then unlocked a different tier 2 boat that I might actually be usable and might actually do well with. So I'm now working on that one. I might have been playing this wrong, which like leads me now to a bit of a problem because it's like I've burnt all the bonuses on these boats. Perhaps I should have been like just min-maxing a single line of boats. I'm making it hard for myself. That's what I'm saying. Maybe, yeah. Good news is I have improved my ability to play retro games on the PlayStation 1 even further because I bought myself a brand new SCART cable. Yes, it's 2023 Whoa. And I'm still buying SCART leads. Yes, there's a
nice.
website. There's a website called Retro Gaming Cables who
They'll do you a SCART.
They will make SCART cables for retro consoles, and it's like, yes, they are a little on the pricey side, especially their shipping. But hot damn, this is a good cable. It's like it really does clean up the image. And they have a little circuit board trickery in there to clean up the synchronization signal as well, so the OSSE has an easier time keeping track of it. But yeah, shout out RGC. That's a hell of a good cable. It's a clean image. So the other thing I was playing, I think I've talked about this last time, right? That Rage Racer exists, and it's technically Ridge Racer 3.
Yeah.
Also, quite a weird game, really, because it's like this is when Ridge Racer started to get a little ambitious and not just be an arcade racer with 2 tracks. This time you get 3 tracks, possibly 4. I think there might be 4, but I haven't seen the 4th yet. But it's not like pick a thing and go. It's got like progression now. You start off in class 1 with you have to earn enough money by winning races to upgrade or buy a class 2 car, so then you can race in the class 2 events, which are faster and harder and thus require a little bit more skill and a little bit more ability. So it's got a progression, but none of that's the weird stuff. Like it's still got excellent presentation. The music is great, as I guess you would expect from an early Ridge Racer game. It's got its soundtrack is pretty ace, but it's also got its handling is weird. Like I can sort of understand why they didn't call it a Ridge Racer game, because it's like I can't get its drifting to work. Like it's just
seriously,
it's really bizarre. Like, so one of 2 things happens when I try to drift in this game. Either I overdrift and like go around the corner and then start fishtailing wildly. It seems to have the drift mechanic where it kind of latches you to the corner and you just sort of move with the corner. But then I've not been able to get the straightening out part correct. So then what you end up doing is you end up fishtailing for a while, and then it sort of decides, no, you've had enough of that, locks your direction in place, makes the squealing noise go really low pitch for a second, slows you to a crawl, and you have no control during this period, it seems, and then lets you go. It's like, oh, you messed that drift up. Here, have a ridiculous penalty.
Does it
for some
point you?
Reason. No,
but does it point you?
No,
in the
it doesn't point you in the right direction either. This can happen even when the drift decides you're done with this drift, like almost immediately after executing it. So you can, like, sometimes my direction won't change. I'll drift slightly off to the side around a corner, still facing the same direction I was before. You'll get that low pitched tire squeal as it goes, you've done this wrong, and then just drive you straight into the wall in front of you because you haven't changed direction. It's so weird. I just can't wrap my head around it. Fortunately, it does offer an alternative way of driving that it calls grip driving, that I think was also in Ridge Racer Type 4 with the grip style cars. the manual even recommends you drive this way, where it's basically don't ever let go of the accelerator, just hold brake whilst you turn, and your car won't drift. You'll slow down, but you'll have more grip while you go around the corner, so you'll actually just turn round it faster.
So this isn't, you don't actually have to change a mode or anything.
No, it's a certain type of, it's like a driving style. Like there are cars with a grip rating, but I haven't really figured out what difference that makes. It's supposedly like low grip supposedly makes drifting easier, and high grip supposedly make grip driving easier, but I haven't really been able to feel a difference. It's a weird system. But if I'm like, it doesn't make it any less enjoyable, like doing the grip driving. It's just a different game, and it's because of that, it's the Ridge Racer trappings around a different handling model, and it's interesting as a result. Also, their course design is quite weird this time around. It's like there's a lot of elevation, there's a lot of ups and downs. So there's an emphasis on getting the corners right before an uphill, because you want to be carrying as much speed as possible into the start of that uphill, because otherwise you won't be able to accelerate that well, and you won't hit those speeds. So you might have a long period of time going at a suboptimal speed. It's like and it's sort of all European themed as well. So like you go over the start finish line under an Arc de Triomphe, turn into a German like mounted town, and then go down to the beach, which is Greek for some reason, with bright white buildings and bits of Parthenon coming out of the sea. It's
oh, okay.
Its theming is quite strange. But anyway, Rage Racer. I like it. You should like it. You people out there.
The world.
You should play some retro, not Ridge Racer.
Ridge
If you're
Racer.
on your Ridge Racer spree, don't forget Rage Racer. It's equally as ridgy.
Yeah. I had a brief look at acquiring Roll Cage as well, like the PlayStation version.
What's that?
Right.
So Roll Cage was a Psygnosis made racing game, future racing game, featuring those. Do you remember those like what were they called? Like there was an RC car that basically had wheels bigger than its body, so it could go upside down.
Yeah.
They were like called Tycho Rebounds or something like that.
Right. Anyway, sounds familiar.
Yeah, someone thought we should make a game of that, and Roll Cage was the result. So more recently represented in a sort of, I guess, a spiritual recreation called Grip that I've played and talked about on this very podcast. So I thought about acquiring that. I haven't acquired that because I've also discovered that one of the original developers of Roll Cage has basically released the whole game for free and modernized it and called it Roll Cage Redux. Which I don't know if they were allowed to do, but hey, they've gone and done it. So I might check that out at some point. You can download that for free on PC. I believe it had a Fatboy Slim soundtrack or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
That time of the years.
Yeah, so a bit of me wants to check it out purely for that.
Well, the Redux might not, though.
Oh, there's ways. Yeah, there's like Steam community threads about it and stuff like that. Weirdly, like you could they've planned for this. So yeah, I might check that out at some point. But yeah, other than those things, I don't think I've got a huge amount to say this time round. I think I've covered it. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a good. You got your main game, you got your retro game.
I got my side action.
It's a freaking strong showing. It's time for Zach to show his ability.
Well, I haven't been playing much of anything apart from just one game this time. Because I was basically done with Terranil before the end of the last podcast, so it's just like, we're pretty much done with that. I did all the, I don't remember whether I even said that I did all the alternate levels. The last alternate level is weirdly like super easy for some reason.
Weird.
Which is slightly strange. Because the last actual level is relatively hard. It's like the ruined city where you have to deal with the big piles of radioactive trash all over the place. Well, not really all over the place. At specific locations. Jam a sunflower thing on them and that cleans it up.
Okay. Are sunflowers
kind of. They're
known for their
yes.
radioactive eating ability?
Yes, kind of. That is one thing that sunflowers are sort of known for. They absorb radiation pretty good.
Weird.
But not probably in the way that you'd build them directly on like a pile of nuclear waste barrels like in this game. But yeah, the alternate version of that level seemed to just be quite a lot easier because it seemed like it was going to try and be harder by making you deal with like making land more. Because in the normal version, you have to dredge up dirt to make land between the buildings because it's like a flooded city. So you have to make the land because the plants don't really grow on the buildings. But your machines can go on the buildings like a lot of the machines have to be mounted on rocks normally. Like the wind turbines and the power lines and that kind of stuff have to be built on rocks. So the buildings act as the rocks, but then you have to dig up from the seabed to make actual land to grow the plants in the normal version. But in the second version, it still has that, but like it gives you a much easier way to make land basically. So it took much less planning ahead of like, I have to, because when you're doing the dredging version in the first version, you're also like making a hole. You're dredging up a hole, so you're going to make deep water here, but to make land over here.
I see. Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to fill that deep water back in the future. And then like one of the biomes you have to make in that is like a lagoon where you have to enclose a certain amount of water, but not too much. You have to like encircle a certain amount. But one of the problems of that game is just like there are occasionally cases where it doesn't really give you quite enough information about like specific things. Like when you want to make a lagoon, you pretty much just have to like mouse over some water and then it'll be like, this is too much. And then you're like, how much too much?
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can probably, you just close it off a bit and then stick it down. And then if it doesn't work, you just close it off a bit more. And then if you need to undo that, you just undo it. Well, I guess you can only undo one step. So you can undo the last thing you did. So close off one end, then close off the other. And if it's still too big, undo that one and move that one slightly further in.
Just keep moving one wall slightly.
And also that mechanic is weird anyway, because like the edge of the map counts as an edge, which is just like that's not really in the spirit of a lagoon, I don't think, because that could be an infinite amount of water out there.
Sure.
So yeah, that was the end of Terranil. But yeah, mainly all I've been playing this fortnight is just a bunch more Oxygen Not Included, because that's a game that can take a long time.
Sure.
And I still haven't, well, I haven't got to the late game where sort of the new stuff is, except that the new stuff is kind of focused about the meteors, which, as I mentioned, they've just added back in. But those are obviously still relevant from the early game. So I've basically finally got to the point where my first two asteroids are like stable now, like the one you start on and the one that's connected by the teleporter. So you don't have to worry about rockets. I've finally got those like properly stable, so I don't have to worry about them any longer. In a way that I feel like is verging a bit towards like I'm kind of exploiting this a bit much. Whereas like my main base, I was running out of dirt to grow, because the easiest plant to grow just requires you to feed it dirt, and it's like that's fine. That's useful in the early game because obviously it's really easy to do, but it's also useful, forever, because dirt is not that difficult. Well, you usually get a ton of dirt digging out the level, so the dirt can last you quite a long way into the game. So I normally don't move off the dirt plant until I just like have a bunch of other resources where I'm just like, well, I might as well spend this water growing this slightly better plant because I have a bunch of water lying around now. But the dirt is always the backup. But in this case, I was running out of dirt. I was like, well, shit. And
isn't that a bit weird? Wouldn't it? Shouldn't it be like a whole bunch of rock? Like,
well, there's a whole bunch of rock as well.
Okay.
Depends on the biome. Some of them are more dirt than others. But so the other weird thing about this save specifically, or not really weird, because I chose one of the harder, like, sets of asteroids or whatever, one of the harder starting environments. And it seems, partly it's just that this is a harder set, but it also seems to have, I've also seemed to have got slightly unlucky with, like, the randomness of it. So the starting asteroid, I was running out of dirt quite quickly, so I was like, well, I'm going to bring from the second asteroid, bring over that animal that can plant seeds, wild seeds, and therefore not, as I've mentioned before, that slightly exploity thing where you can make the animal plant the plants and then the plants grow for free.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'm going to do that, obviously, because, well, I kind of always do that, but maybe not to the extent I've done in this one, because I used those animals to grow food plants, but also the specific plant that they eat, because they also poop dirt. So, like, then they're making dirt that I'm then using to farm the other plants that I also need to eat. So now my starting asteroid is basically dirt positive because I've farmed enough of these animals and enough of the trees that they eat that they're actually making more dirt that I'm using to grow the food crops.
Right.
So I'm like, well, that solved that problem, I guess, in a slightly maybe exploity kind of way, but not really, because that's just a game mechanic. And it does require you to plan ahead because you have to leave natural tiles, so you have to leave actual. You can't just build walls everywhere. You have to be like, oh, if I want a nice level floor, I'm going to have to look for where there's natural tiles in a line rather than a cave or whatever going through them. If you want to build level, I mean, I guess you could not. You could just open up a cave and just have them plant wherever. Not as efficient though. If you want to get to the point where I'm at with stupid dirt positivity, it's like 4 floors of just precisely laid out naturally growing plants in a very not natural way. So there's that, and then like the second base is where I ran into the problem of the actual meteors. Like, so the first asteroid has ice meteor showers, which are basically just a benefit rather than any kind of detriment. Like, they give you some amount of water, but it's like kind of tiny amount. They also give you a bunch of cooling because you just let them hit the top of your base, and then just the coldness goes through the wall, and then you're good. It's helpful free cooling. But then also the ice meteors are weak enough that they don't damage solar panels, so you can still use the solar panels.
Oh, nice.
So like my main base is powered mostly off solar power because you still can, because that's what I was kind of worried about when they reintroduced the meters into Spaced Out, because in Spaced Out before the meteors, basically every base you could just build solar panels because you just go onto you were kind of naturally always on the surface of the asteroids because that's where your rockets needed to go. So therefore you just throw up some solar panels and that's your power problem solved. And maybe that was too easy. But then again, you don't want to go all the way back to how it is in the base game, where solar panels are almost completely useless because it's so insanely expensive to have to build all like the bunker doors and shit to protect them from the meteors.
Right, yeah.
But in this first asteroid, it has the ice meteors that don't do enough damage to damage solar panels, so it's fine. The second asteroid has uranium meteors, and those do enough damage to damage solar panels. So I was like, well, I can't use those here this time. And
I've got this uranium.
Well, I do have this uranium, but the trouble is I've never actually got to the point of building like a reactor. Mainly because like the one time I sort of tested the idea of a reactor, I didn't do it in a sandbox, I did it in like a save and then reload kind of way. But like the reactors are just incredibly difficult to keep a handle on. Like they produce so much heat and so much waste. I mean, obviously you want the heat because that's what you turn into power, but it's a lot. It's like 5 steam engines or something, and then just to build that is a lot of resources, and then you have to make space for that much stuff as well. And then all the nuclear waste falls out the bottom, and you can't pump that, and then that contains a bunch of heat as well. Basically, reactors are like the reactors feel like Endgame in a way where it's just like if you do manage to keep it under control, which you want to. It's kind of going to inherently produce so much power. I mean, yes, obviously that kind of should be the case. It's a fucking nuclear reactor. But then that's like such a huge step up from like all the other power solutions. Apart from the weird things like, I don't know, absorbing the heat energy off rockets, because that can make a shit ton of power if you do that right. Just build like a hot plate underneath where the rocket exhaust comes out and then use that heat to power steam turbines or boil oil or whatever.
I see, yeah.
That could be pretty powerful. Or you can do the even more ridiculous version of that and make a rocket chimney where you instead of launching the rocket from the top of the asteroid into space, you launch the rocket from the bottom of the asteroid in an enclosed tube and capture all of the exhaust as it flies the entire length of the map.
I see.
Get maximum amount of heat. But I don't think I've ever got to that point either. It's really more power than you could ever need. So on the second planet where I have the uranium asteroids, I'm like, well, I can't use solar panel. I'll live on manual generators because really this asteroid has only ever had 2 people on it. So it's been a very low resource, the biggest power draw is really the pumping system that pumps water to the other asteroid to get turned into oxygen. And I have that set up so the other asteroid sends coal through the teleporter, and there's just one coal generator there that uses that. And that's on like a separate grid from the local stuff. So I was like, I don't need that much power. But then at some point I was like, okay, these manual generators are kind of getting annoying. Like the 2 guys here are spending like a lot of time just running on these manual generators. I need to do something about this power situation. So I did something that I also consider kind of late game and have never really needed to do in any base I don't think I've ever played, where I actually tapped into the magma core of the planet. Whereas like you build a steel plate with some doors to like act as an air gap, and then a plate at the bottom of a steam room to make the steam, and then run some steam turbines off that, which is also a lot of power, but more controllable because you can just be like, you can put as many steam engines there as you want, really. Make the room bigger or smaller, make the hot plate bigger or smaller. But yeah, that solved the power problem there. So I was like, okay, second asteroid, that's more or less done there now too. Now that I have this extra power, I can finish it off with like a refrigerator system to freeze all the food so it never decays, and then that will basically be good. They'll be stable. Technically, they're not stable on like food output because they're also using the dirt plants. But that asteroid had even more dirt than the first asteroid, but like to start with, rather than being an infinite source.
Right.
It just has like 300 tons of dirt just lying around. So I'm like, they're good. 2 people aren't going to get through that very quickly. So now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, now I need to actually, make a rocket, do a space mission, go to a third asteroid, set up an actual separate base,
and survive the meteors whilst it's flying.
Well, you don't really. I guess the meteors don't really exist like while you're flying around. I don't think there's any way they can interact with the rocket. You see them on the map, like you get an early warning where it'll ping up and like show you the meteors, and then if you click on them, it'll be like the meteors will take this path through space and arrive here like 4 cycles in the future. But they don't really do anything apart from exist on the map.
I see.
It's just an early warning system essentially. But yeah, the other problem that I've been having, which is why I've now been taking quite a long time to get to rockets, is that another thing that I'm sort of lacking in the same way as like I didn't have many choices apart from the dirt plant to grow, and I didn't have much in terms of water apart from this one source on the second asteroid or whatever. Although that's more because it's cold water. That was more of a cooling concern than the water concern. There was lots of other water, but it was all like 95 degrees. So I was like, can't use that. But the other problem that I have now when I've just started rocketry is that I'm kind of limited to only the steam engine rocket, because the next tier up from the steam engine would be like the petroleum engine. And in order to use the petroleum, my starting asteroid has an oil biome, so I have plenty of oil and shit that I could turn into petrol. But in order to burn that, you need oxidizer. And the oxidizer affects how efficient that is. So there's 3 different tiers. You have fertilizer, which I do technically have and could technically make, but that like sucks. It's like 4 times less efficient on the fuel usage. So you won't go as far for the same amount of fuel. And like making fertilizer is incredibly slow, so I probably have to build a whole ton of that building. And I'm kind of running out of space on this main base as well. So fertilizer sucks. So I was like, well, I don't really like that. But then the trouble is that the second tier, the third tier is liquid oxygen, which I could theoretically make right now using the technology I have, but the liquid oxygen tank is like right at the end of the tech tree. So even though I can theoretically make liquid oxygen, I can't make the tank to put it in.
Right.
So that's not an option either.
Just let it flow.
And then the second tier of oxidizer, which is what I'd usually use, is called oxalite, which is basically just a rock that makes oxygen. It's what they use at the start of the game to give you like a starting oxygen supply before you build an oxygen system. It's just like, here's a chunk of oxalite that just makes oxygen and then disappears gradually over time. So usually you'd use that, but not from digging it up. You have like the oxalite making machine, or there's an animal that will do it. And I don't have the animal on either of these two starting asteroids, so I couldn't do that. And I also don't have gold, which is what you need to use the machine to make oxalite. So I basically can't make oxalite the two ways that you can make oxalite.
Right.
So I was like, how am I going to manage a space barrier when I've only got steam rockets and they can't go very far? But then the third asteroid that I've gone to has oxalite meteor showers.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay, maybe I can harvest it that way. But of course, the trouble with that is that, you know, the oxalite meteors come down through space, hit the surface, turn into chunks of oxalite, and then just evaporate into space because they turn into oxygen.
Oh.
It does take a little while, so you can still scavenge some of it, but you're going to have, you know, it's sort of a drop everything and work on this kind of situation.
Yeah.
As soon as the meteors start landing, you're just like, cancel all other projects, just get out there and start digging it up.
And are they degraded by the time you get them as well?
Well, it's based on like mass. So when the meteors hit, it like generates tiles of oxalite, and they can be like 200 kilograms. And then as it turns into oxygen, it's just the mass of the tile turns into the mass of oxygen,
right.
And then that is based on the atmospheric pressure surrounding it. But then because it's space, basically maximum, maximum speed, it will disappear. But it's still possible to get like hundreds of kilograms out of an asteroid if you just run up there and mine it and take it inside before it all disappears. So I'm definitely thinking that might be a useful way to get oxalite. But there's not much else on this asteroid apart from cold. Everything is just cold, which in some ways is good because I don't have to worry about heat for a while. Can't grow any food, but that's fine too, because I can also just shoot food at this planet from the other planets if I want, because I've got the payload launcher.
Beef in space.
I haven't quite got to the point of worrying about perishable foods in rocket ships. That thing that I mentioned the last time I played, where it's like, I want the food that never perishes, so I don't have to worry about it.
Sure.
Although there is, I guess this is something that had been patched since last time I played. They added the spice grinder to the kitchen, and it can basically, you use seeds and some other components as spices to put on food, and that can add like extra modifiers to the food, and one of them is like it slows decay even more. So I'm like, maybe that will be enough, because the plant that grows in dirt, there's two ways you can cook the plant that grows in dirt, meal lice. There's two ways you can cook it. You can add water and turn it into like a bar, a really gross bar, and that's like increases the calorie count slightly at the expense of water. And then the other thing you can do is pickle it, which basically makes no difference to the calorie count, but makes it perish much slower. So it goes to like, it lasts 32 days or whatever.
Sure.
So then if you then use the spice grinder and add the buff that then also reduces the how fast it perishes, I haven't actually tested it to see what that bonus is, but, you know, a multiplication of 32 is going to be a fucking long time, probably.
Is it just salt?
No, salt is a separate thing. You can make table salt. It just gives you a +1 morale bonus when you eat the food.
Oh. It doesn't actually have a preservative.
No, it's not preservative at all.
Oh.
In fact, I don't think the preservative spice even uses salt. It uses...
Does it make them thirstier, like in theme parks?
No, that's the weird thing. Like, no, they don't actually drink water at any point. Water is not actually a foodstuff unless it's included as part of a food recipe. But yeah, I think with this like special spice, maybe I won't have to worry about after the pickling plus this spice, maybe that'll be fine. But it's so much more convenient to not have to worry about it at all. 0 perishability is better than a 1% perishability. But yes, I have also, even though this third asteroid I've landed on is cold, it doesn't have the one specific plant you need to make the unperishable food. It's not the right biome. It's just it's a lot of cold biomes. It's not that one specific cold biome. So I don't know. I haven't found that specific asteroid yet, because in the sort of late game, further out areas of the map, the asteroids get less random and more. I mean, they're still random, but they're more of a set type, because the game needs to give you certain things as you approach the late game. Where it's like there's usually the asteroid that gives you the superconductive metal that doesn't exist anywhere else, and then there's like the ice asteroid that's not really anything to do with the ice, but it's the place where the temporal tear opener that is the end game, basically. That building is always there. And then there's the asteroid that has the weird tree thing that you feed to get resin, which is also a late game material. So like after the starting 3 or 4 asteroids, they get less like real random and more like it's randomly generated, but it's much more,
guided,
well known what's going to be there.
Yeah, because you need to follow a sequence.
And I haven't found any of them yet. I'm not past the middle cluster. And annoyingly, the like 4th asteroid that I can see is like the inverted asteroid, which is an absolute nightmare to deal with because it's lava at the top. It's like, what are you even going to do? How are you even going to land on that? I think last time I did try and land on an inverted asteroid, I think they may have changed terrain generation at some point, because I think nowadays the inverted asteroid maybe has a shell of abyssalite on top and then lava.
Oh, I see.
Because last time I played, it was just open at the top and it was just lava filled up to that point, which then you're looking for like, there's an outcropping of obsidian that might just be large enough to fit a rocket on.
So if you wanted to invert a Cadbury's cream egg, what they do is, instead of just letting the goopy stuff just be on the outside, they'd have a little thin extra chocolate layer to hold
contain the goop, and then a chocolate nugget in the middle.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much.
Important information.
But yes, the inverted asteroid is... The trouble with the inverted asteroid is not so much even dealing with the lava. Once you know how to deal with lava is manageable. The problem is like not accidentally bringing a shit ton of heat onto the inside where it's normal temperature. Because you have to go through all this lava and then like not accidentally let a bunch of gas hit all that temperature and make the inside of the asteroid real hot. I mean, you could just let it vent to vacuum, I guess.
Always.
Probably not the best plan in terms of resources. And I think the last time I tried interacting with an inverted asteroid, I had the ingenious plan of being like, well, you can send these automated robots ahead of like actual people landing. So I'll make one of these robots specifically out of steel so it can survive in lava. And it was like, yeah, that'll work. Just land it directly in the lava. It doesn't care. It's a robot. But unfortunately, robots can't mine hard materials, so it can't mine obsidian, so it can't actually do anything.
It can't get out of it.
Yeah, it can stand in the lava, it can wander around, but it can't actually mine a single thing, so it doesn't have any resources to work with, so it can't actually do anything. Or you can do orbital drops, I guess, and hope that they don't land in the lava, because until you build a beacon, the orbital drops just land randomly on the surface. Or maybe you can do it the super hardcore way and just keep firing orbital drops at the planet until the lava cools down. Keep adding mass to it until it gets cold enough for the lava to harden, and then you can stand on it.
I mean, it's one way.
I wonder if that would work. It probably would, but it would be extremely expensive.
What if you sent enough robots and then fired all your stuff that you wanted in the orbital drops encased in steel, and then you could get your robots to like just lift it out?
Well, you kind of can. You can kind of do that. The trouble is, like, the orbital drops come in like a little canister, and then in order to get what's inside, they open the canister, but then what's inside like pops out onto the floor. So there would be a moment where what's inside would be in direct contact with lava.
Sure.
But if they picked it up quick enough, they might.
Oh, so that what's inside can't just be a steel box full of other stuff?
No, that would just be an item. I mean, if it was more steel, it'd be fine. Or certain other materials, like, I guess obsidian. You could send them chunks of obsidian, because then they wouldn't have to mine the obsidian. And then they could use that to build with.
That's true. Build a little staircase out.
Yeah. The actual problem is the rocket pad. Like, so the way landing on the asteroids works, you deploy the robots, usually, and they can do a certain amount of digging and building and whatnot, but they can't do anything that requires, like, skills. So they can't actually build a rocket pad. They can bring all the resources to the construction site, but they can't actually build it. So then you have to use a special, like, module that launches a guy from the rocket down in, like, a drop pod, basically. And then he has to quickly, before he dies, from any number of reasons, he has to build the rocket pad so the rocket can land, and then he can get back in, be safe. Usually that's not such a problem, but obviously on the lava planet, somewhat of a problem. I think you can stand in lava for a fairly long time if you're wearing a full spacesuit. But I don't know about long enough to build an entire rocket pad. So yeah, that's obviously not included. I'm definitely reaching the point where it's like now I'm getting back to the real spaced out space program.
Spaced out.
Except in this case, slightly awkward due to this oxalite situation. Oh, and I don't know if the oxalite meteors are going to do enough damage to hit solar panels or not. Haven't tested that yet. Because that would be real convenient on the planet where I only have one person.
Right, yeah.
He can't be standing on a manual generator running for most of the day. He needs to be doing other things in order to stay alive, mainly.
Is there any follow-up news on Kerbal Space Program 2? Thinking about spacey stuff.
It's had a couple of patches, and people say that they're fairly significant patches, but I haven't heard anything like, amazing.
Nothing game-saving.
It seems like a standard early access program at this point.
Right.
If you just forget the sort of situation it was at launch, with the potential overly priced situation, and the fact that it shouldn't have been early access, or shouldn't really have come out at this state in the first place, or whatever. But if once you got past that, it's like, well, this seems just like a normal early access game patching cycle, as far as we can see.
But are the fundamentals getting fixed?
Well, I mean, everyone did say about the first patch, it was like, well, it runs better now.
Okay.
So maybe. Maybe. And that was more or less all I played. I played some more Rocket League. I played some more Derg. They've started teasing Season 4 now. Except not in a way that implies anything about what the real season is going to be about. They basically teased that there's going to be some kind of arcade machine on the Space Freak.
Okay.
And I guess the slightly more gameplay related teaser is there's a new kind of crate that you open in the caves, but they don't really show you what that does.
New boxes.
Yeah. The speculation is, well, maybe unsurprisingly, the speculation is that it's something to do with overclocks, because people are still eternally going to be pissed about the overclock grind, even after they added the promotion overclocks, which I still haven't even seen. I still haven't actually done a promotion since that patch. I'm now doing the engineer one, because he's got the 25 again.
Got a promotion on the cards now, haven't I? I've got a couple.
Yeah, I think
you've got an NG and the gunner's close as well.
Yeah. I think that was why you were playing Gunner, because the NG one was on the go, I think. But now you've got to the Gunner one as well. And maybe if the box being for something related to overclocks is true, maybe we'll be getting some new overclocks. That's the other speculation, that they might actually
that would be good. Go
back to some of the older weapons and or some of the weapons that only have really boring overclocks, like some of the pistols or whatnot. Do some new or different.
Like I said, more is more, and just give us more.
Yeah, but then Mike, that's all well and good, but what's the actual gameplay implication of Season 4 going to be? I'm assuming it's going to be like Plaguefall Part 2, like how we had Robots Part 2.
I would guess it would be something like that.
I mean, they could do with like some more plague enemies since there's only 2. There's only 2 different types of plague enemies. Maybe that's what the box in the cave is about. Maybe it's not an overclock at all. Maybe it's some kind of new...
It's a new extermination mission.
Yeah, new kind of anti... Maybe we get a giant plague pyramid like we got with the robot pyramid. Another kind of boss fight.
Right. Or all of the exterminations have got plague versions now.
Or the robot pyramid got plague in it.
Oh, no.
Corrupted robot pyramid.
Plague Nemesis.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great as well.
Plague Ghost. Not that that would make any difference, other than it just leaves more plague behind it or something.
Yeah. I mean, because that is the one maybe thing that you can see in one of those teasers where it looks like the hologram map of the planet. It looks like the big plague meteor that was just hovering there before is maybe like attached to the planet now, like it actually hit. Because up to now it's only been fragments. Now you get the real meteor impact, and then
Actual plague heart.
Yeah, maybe that's where the boss fight comes in. We'll see though. I'm kind of hoping for it at this point because I'm so done with season 3.
Sure.
I've been done with it for ages.
Give us content.
And I've got like 20 blank overclocks at the moment.
No, what?
Yeah, I've got tons.
I got any. Fresh out.
I haven't even been grinding deep dives. I don't know how I have 20 of these things. Haven't been grinding deep dives. Haven't been especially grinding the weeklies because I've been actually doing, other assignments like Easter assignments and whatnot.
Yeah. Eggs.
I guess one of the Easter assignments gave you a couple of overclocks.
Eggs.
So yeah, you need to get back in here so that we can. You need to get back in when season 4 comes, but I'd like you to get back in beforehand.
I mean, sure. Yeah. Not been an ideal week for me in gaming, but
obviously.
Back on it soon when you're feeling tip top.
And I can open my eyes for longer stretches of periods.
Longer stretches of periods.
Stretches of periods. Okay.
That's
Better than longer periods of stretch.
Potentially.
I think that means it's the end of this podcast.
Yeah, that might do it for a podcast.
It's also very hot in here. We're starting to get towards the non-winter period of the podcast where this room is going to get hot.
It's pretty toasty. My little fan has been on, but yeah, it's more than fan worthy in here.
And we need to close the door more because of the crying child.
Yes. We're not going to win that fight.
No.
Need more fan, less
thank
WAN.
you for joining us. More fan.
More fan, less WAN, some amount of tan.
From WAN to Dan. Check out our YouTube channel. There's a new video of us playing the fan-made Pokemon Fusion game thing.
Oh boy, you need to watch that. I had so much,
which is fucking crazy.
I had probably almost as much fun working with that video as I did us actually playing it through. It's great.
It's pretty great. So definitely check that one out. And we'll be back with you in a couple of weeks for another Saladcast, just like this one. So we'll catch you then. Goodbye.